Hey, Chris,
Yeah, Fred.
what's a Mason?
That's a really good question, Fred.
You've reached the internet's home for all things masonry. Join Chris and I as we plumb the depths of our ancient craft. From the common gavel to the trowel, nothing is off the table. So grab your tools and let's get to work. This is On the Level. Well, brother, once again,
Woo!
we are
thank
back.
you.
Thank you. That was awesome. As promised, this particular show is going to be about the Fellowcraft lecture, and we'll do a couple of them, and then maybe we'll do Master Mason one, a couple of them, then we'll go back and finish up EA. We didn't want to just blast you guys with 8 episodes of the EA lecture. We just kind of want to mix it up. Also,
we learned that with the Master Mason.
We learned that with the Master
like
Mason.
12 episodes.
12 episodes.
We got
on
a little
Master
tired
Mason.
after 3.
Everybody was like, writing us, come on, guys, come on.
Move on.
Enough, let's move on. So, so we're gonna jump into the Fellowcraft degree. Now, for many of us, this is clearly our favorite degree.
Yes.
And if you are a Mason, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Even the name of it, the Winding Stair Lecture. It just provokes such great imagery.
Well, it's a great representation of the system of Freemasonry because that winding stairs is very public. Some lodges actually have winding stairs, and
Right.
they have symbols and they have letters on the stairs that everyone can see.
Right. Hillsborough Lodge. They
you
have
go.
those winding stairs, and if you look, they're the stairs. They are the stairs. It's amazing. It's absolutely cool.
I got to tell you something.
Tell me.
The worshipful master of Hillsborough Lodge reached out to me, and they've asked me to do a lecture there
Nice.
next month
On
the day of the district picnic here in District 23. So
Okay.
I won't be at the district picnic.
neither will I.
I have to do this lecture at Hillsborough Lodge.
Nice.
I cannot pass this opportunity up. Thank you, Worshipful Rich. Really, really looking forward to that.
That is awesome. That's getting opportunities to go speak at different lodges because of the podcast is just such a privilege that we have. We are blessed.
We're going to get to
do
see a
this.
Master Mason degree in Hillsborough Lodge and potentially be a small part in it.
Woo!
Exciting.
I can't wait. I'm there. I'm right there beside you, brother.
Google Hillsborough Lodge
in
Florida and just look at that place, guys.
It's amazing. It is amazing. Any chance that comes up to go there, I'm going.
Right?
I'm there. I mean, because we just love that place. And the Worshipful Master, shout out. We just love the Worshipful Master there and everything that he's
Rich.
done. Worshipful Rich. So anyways, I know he's listening. He listens to us regularly. He's
everything he didn't know he needed about Freemasonry.
That's
What a
right.
great line.
What a great line, right? Everything I didn't know I needed.
Oh, man, I
that's
love
exactly right, man. So, okay, well, good. Shall we begin in the Fellowcraft? Now you're looking in the red book,
that. I do have the red book with me, yeah.
so you'll know exactly what can and can't.
Yeah.
What is and isn't published. I'm going to follow along in our blue book, which is the monitor. I'm going to monitor through the monitor.
I have this open. I'm not going to read out of it. I just want to see where it ends so that I don't say anything that I shouldn't say.
Yeah, and I'm gonna back you up on that.
I definitely don't want to do
The
that.
first 10 pages.
I'm always amazed how much of this is written out.
Yeah, so you don't have to worry about anything until you get to speculative masonry.
Wow. Okay.
So we
have
got
some things to talk about
yeah.
here.
So the first is the Senior Deacon lecturer.
Yes, typically the senior deacon gives the lectures in the lodge.
Correct.
And so, I don't know if all lodges do this, but if the senior deacon isn't giving the lecturer wears the deacon's jewels.
Oh,
While
okay.
he's giving the lecture and gives it back to the deacon when he's done, so that he's symbolically the senior deacon as he does it.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, Worshipful Burns, begin.
My brothers, Freemasonry being an allegorical system, all of its parts, points, and secrets must partake of its symbolic construction. Every ceremony has its mystical reference, and every landmark its legitimate explanation. It is consistent in all of its parts, which points to one and the same object kept prominently in view in all of the degrees. Now, I guess we won't say what that is, but Masons, I think, generally know what that's referring to. Every landmark and every mystical ceremony constitute a plain type of some great event, which appears to be intimately connected with our best and dearest interests. Conveying instruction by symbols has been a means made use of among all nations in all parts of the world, dating back in its history to the first teachers of man, all the wise men of the East, including Solomon, the great and wise king of Israel, as well as those from the humbler walks of life, have veiled their discourse in allegory and illustrated by symbols. I think that's this is an important section because people that aren't Masons think that we're really shady and bad because we use symbols and that we're hiding the true meaning of things. But as we talked about, the Fellowcraft lecture deals with history and science. And what we're saying here is that all nations from the beginning of our recorded history have used symbols to convey ideas. From pre-Egyptian times, which was at least 3,000 years ago. Even before then, they were using symbols.
Right.
As a means of communication.
Right, because most people couldn't read. So
everyone
symbolism...
can look at something. Everyone that's not blind can look at it.
Right, yeah. So when the landmarks, we can talk about the landmarks of Masonry, correct? Or is that the tenets? Am I thinking of the three tenets, or is it the three landmarks? I gotta look.
There are more landmarks.
Right. So the three tenets I'm thinking of. We'll talk about that later.
The principal tenets.
I think it comes up.
Are in the Entered Apprentice lecture.
Correct. My bad. Sorry.
That's okay. So the first degree in Masonry is symbolic and moral. The second embraces history and science. The allegory of Freemasonry is the building of King Solomon's Temple at Jerusalem, and our legends date from that epoch. The working tools there used furnish us with many of our symbols, and many of our ceremonies were practiced by its builders. In order to facilitate the work of building and prevent confusion in the payment of wages, the craft were divided into classes, or as we designate them, degrees, and to each class was assigned methods of recognition. The second class, or fellow crafts, received their wages in corn, wine, and oil in the middle chamber. Hence we say, a lodge of fellow crafts represents the middle chamber of King Solomon's Temple, as does that of the entered apprentice the ground floor. We term advancement to this degree passing, and we say passed to the degree of fellow craft. For in going from the ground floor to the middle chamber of King Solomon's Temple, one necessarily passed between two beautiful brazen pillars.
It just starts off so good, doesn't it? And this is so. I think this is a great idea because we had a esoteric discussion group just the other day. Shout out, that was a great group.
About 20 of us there.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin, for opening up your home. That was awesome.
And for everybody to come out and share their time with us.
And one of the we did a little bit of discussion about degree stuff, and then we did a little current event kind of discussion that broke out. And the current event was was talking about all of this persecution, if you will, of Masons and Masonry around the country. This move towards unstable people of unstable mental health, in my opinion, going after Masons because of this massive amount of misinformation that's out there. It always stems from misinformation. People grabbing misinformation and then taking action against others because of their ignorance, and this right here, what we're doing today, and doing this work, and we did not plan it this way, but I think that this is telling the world, we're showing you, hey world, we're showing you. There's nothing nefarious. There's nothing. We are not taking over the world. We don't own the government. We don't own any of that stuff. What we are is a group of lodges, fraternal lodges, around the country, underneath a state headship of a fraternal order, trying to make ourselves and our communities better men.
Yeah.
And these lectures and what we're doing here is that's what we're trying to convey to the world. Hey, Alex Jones, listen up, man. We're not nefarious. We're not up to anything. shut up, man. We don't want to hear from you anymore. Okay,
he's out there advertising for us,
He's advertising for us because hopefully people are listening to this idiot. Yes, I did say idiot. And then they're thinking, well, this is that guy's a whack job. He's the one who said the thing about frogs and all this weird crap that he goes through over and over again. And maybe they're looking. I need to know the truth. Let me look into Masonry. And if you're that guy, if you're listening right now and you need to look into Masonry, just call your local lodge. Go down there and talk to these people. They're going to tell you everything. They're going to give you a tour of a lodge. There are no secret rooms. There is no secret nefarious plot. It's a fraternal order of men who are trying to make themselves better for the benefit of the world.
And the doozy is they're going to say it's a religion or it's satanic. And, this came out at our esoteric discussion group this weekend. Somebody, I think we had an entered apprentice who is, was it pagan?
He's a neo-pagan.
Something. It's something unique.
I don't think he says I am.
No.
He says that he's kind of he's studying it. He's looking into it. I believe.
Yeah.
I think is what it is. And I think he is the Universalist Church. He goes to the Universalist Church here in Sarasota.
So we had that brother who said this is only strengthening his belief in whatever that religion is to him.
Whatever road he's going down.
We had a Jewish brother there.
Yep.
Who confirmed that being part of Masonry has strengthened his relationship with the temple and his religion. And we had many Christians who, and yourself included, who said this has actually strengthened my belief in Christianity and my place in it.
Yeah, it's funny that I sit in a group of men who represent, if I'm sitting at the bus station, though I don't know the people around me, it's the same thing. Only these men that I'm sitting in this group with, I know their religious backgrounds, I know their opinions, but it's a microcosm of the world at large. And the difference, of course, is we as men can discuss our differences with gentleness and respect for others, and maybe, for goodness sakes, learn something from each other. For the betterment of our fraternity and going forward for the benefit of our community. You can ask my wife. It's made me a better husband. Why? Because it has pointed me back to the origins of my faith. It has reminded me of something that I forgot. And it has pushed me towards this direction, back to something in my life that is extremely meaningful and helpful. And the symbolism, the work that we do, the degree work, the fellowship, the love, you're not going to find that anywhere else, bro. If you're out there looking for something like that, get down to your local lodge and ask them some questions.
Or email Fred at onthelevelwithfredandchris.com.
Please.
He'll tell you everything you need to know.
Yes, and I want to apologize. I set up my mail client so that all my emails would download to one source, and for some reason, Fred at onthelevelwithfredandchris.com did not get on that mail client. So I was feeling really slighted, you guys out there. I was feeling slighted. It's like, gosh, you guys are not emailing me. And then one day I opened that thing up and I was like, whoa, okay, you guys are emailing me. I will get on those emails and I will answer you back. Some guys are also instant messaging me.
Oh, great.
Which is great, and I have got to get that on my computer so that it notifies me because I don't have the notification set up for that. So you guys that are shooting me stuff, instant messaging me, I will be responding back to you. I will get that going. I've got a life-changing, life-altering thing that I have to do this weekend.
Are we not discussing that?
We can if you want. And when I get back, I've decided to make a few changes in my life because this, if anything, this would be a good marker for turning some things that I'm not happy with in my life to things that I am happy with. So this Saturday, I talked about it with just a few guys, but I'll share a little bit with you. On July 16th, this last month, my eldest son Brian committed suicide, and I'll spare you the details of how it happened. And he suffered greatly for the last 2 decades. He was a homeless addict on the streets of Denver, Colorado, very much tied and bound by the system, the so-called justice system. We'll talk about that some other day. And he was just held there captive. So he was either incarcerated, where he was actually safe, but then they would kick him back out on the streets, load him up with SSRIs, and then kick him back out on the streets. And this went on for a decade. He just struggled greatly in his mind with mental illness by that time, and finally could no longer keep up the fight. And there's just so much here. And if you've gone through anything like this in your life, I'd love to hear from you. And I'd love to talk about, how can we bring a better awareness of what's going on out there. My youngest son, I have 4 sons. My second to youngest son, technically, only because 2 of my sons are stepsons and 2 of my sons are biological sons, but they're still my sons. Mm. But my youngest son, Eric, and I forgot where I was going with that. So anyway,
it's a
needless
weird
to say,
thing to talk about.
Right. So my youngest son and I, we are looking for a way to honor the memory of Bry by bringing awareness to this issue that's going on out there. I learned a lot of stuff. Did you know? When my checkered background is, I've talked about it on the podcast before, but there was a time in the 80s, drugs were expensive and hard to get, and that was somewhat of a barrier. Not for many of us, not an unsurmountable barrier, unfortunately, but it was a barrier. It slowed you down. Today, 1 day's worth of fentanyl costs you $3, and it's everywhere in Denver, Colorado. You can go anywhere, and with $3 to $10, get an entire day of fentanyl. And our country is flooded with this reality. Every big city in this country is flooded with this substance. It's everywhere. Fentanyl.
Which is what?
Well, I believe we started out as oxycodone, which is a synthetic form of heroin. So same effect, same idea, but it's a synthetic. It's a man-made type of heroin. Mm. So fentanyl was originally created by the ghouls in the pharmaceutical industry as what they termed it, an end-of-life drug. So only if you're terminally ill and dying do they give this to you, because of it's so dangerous and so utterly potent that you can only, like a grain of sand worth is really all that it takes. So it obviously, like every other drug that they ever created, it gets out into the streets and it becomes, it floods over our border. It's produced out of country, and it's smuggled into the country and sold on our streets. It is the ultimate form of a heroin-like substance. Extremely powerful, extremely unstable, and extremely hard to administer correctly. Therefore, that's why people are dropping dead all over the place from overdosing from it, all over the country.
I'm reading the effects of taking this drug.
Yeah.
And it's all about escaping pain. Physical.
Yeah, absolutely.
Physical probably was the intention, but it looks like symptoms such as euphoria are people probably trying to escape emotional pain are taking this drug.
Absolutely.
To not feel it.
Absolutely.
To not have to live with this.
Right. And I know that my son also, methamphetamine was also an issue for him as well, which is a very, very bad drug. And I can tell you that. I can tell you that personally. In my opinion, if the devil was selling drugs, that's the one he would sell, because it is so nefarious. It causes, heroin makes you pass out and throw up on yourself. Methamphetamine makes you steal cars and hurt people. And so it's a totally different, it's a totally different drug with a totally different reaction set. And so all of these issues, all of these things that our kids are getting dragged into them at a young age. My son took his life at 37. He's been out on the streets for 20 years, man. So do the math, bro. He was a young man when we started to lose him, and we did all we could. I will tell you on the good news part, his dad, me, is an ordained minister, and I have spoken to him many, many times on the phone while he was in jail, in person, over and over again, about faith and life. and eternity. And I am very much convinced I know where my son is today, and I will see him again. So that is my hope, and that is the hope of faith.
Sure.
And the Christian faith has that, what we call eternal hope, that we will see those members of our family again. But anyway, I'm sharing this with you guys because of the amount of love the Masonic community has shown me is amazing. I have brothers literally all over the world who would absolutely stand up with me and stand next to me and cry with me and hug me.
It's difficult because you can't stop or fix or help really in any way.
Right.
And so you don't know how to help.
No, it's really strange. I'm finding that to be true. People that I thought were going to just like at my work, for instance. These at my work, no one in my work is Masonic. No one in my work has any kind of faith to speak of. They don't know how to deal with this. They have not said a word to me either way
Easier to avoid
about
that, I
it.
guess.
They totally avoid the conversation in every single way. And the reason why is because they don't know how to deal with it.
Right.
And I don't put anything on them. I don't
guess
put
they
anything on
figure,
them. And I don't
if
blame
he's
them.
here, he must be okay, so I don't want to bring it up or cause any more pain. I'll just ignore it.
Yeah, and it's just they have no mechanism. They have no mechanism, no reference point for something like this. This is what you see on TV. This doesn't actually happen to people I know. I don't know how to deal with this, but as Christians or whatever faith you are, or as a Mason, we're able to look at this, and we're able to understand this. Not fully understand it. No one's going to fully understand a 37-year-old young man hanging himself behind a dumpster in Denver, Colorado. No one's going to truly understand the dynamics that happened there. That's not possible. But
A little bit of empathy goes a long way.
a little bit of empathy.
You can
will go a
imagine the
long way.
pain.
Oh,
We've all had pain in our lives, and we've all gone to dark places. You understand
yeah.
where that could lead if you didn't check it.
No,
Just
that's right.
Follow
That's right.
that path as far down as you could go.
Yeah.
It's going to lead to that place. My wife lost same age, early 30s. Her cousin, same thing.
Yeah.
Drugs his whole life, escaping, trying to escape the pain, and all his family did was make it worse.
Yeah.
Shame him, make him an outcast.
I know.
No one tried to understand what he was trying to escape, what that pain was.
Right.
And he probably wasn't even capable of communicating to anybody. So it was this horrible thing.
Right. The Christian community is, and I'll say it, and it's true, and I'll back it up, is just terrible at this. If you suffer from mental illness, that's a lack of faith.
Right.
And they put that on you. Well, you just need to believe more. You need to trust more. It's just scientific that there are chemical imbalances that happen in the brain that cause us to shift reality. If you add to that drug use, powerful, dangerous drug use, like
over
methamphetamine,
extended periods of time.
over extended period of times, you are just you're harming your brain in such a way that reality begins to slip from you. And for the past 8 years, my son's ability to reason, he told me about voices that he would hear, and he could go into great detail as to what these voices were saying, who they were, when they showed up. I mean, it was real in his mind and in his heart. And eventually he could no longer deal with it, and his only way out he saw. We reached out to him. Our Christian community family was not that way. I would not have that. We reached out to him. He was not an outcast. Our family, we loved him.
Yeah.
He knew that we loved him. He knew he could rely on us. We never gave him money because that would be wrong. Because
this would have happened sooner if you did.
it would have happened much sooner. Correct. So, but he always knew that he could call any of us, and we would stay on the phone with him for as long as we had to. My daughter in Colorado, God bless her, his older sister, would bring him food, would take care of him when he was just so totally broken. She devoted a lot of time and a lot of love to that young man, and it has absolutely enriched her life and crushed her big time. So I need to get out there and sit with her and talk with her. But if you've ever gone through any of this, reach out to me, man. I would like to bring awareness somehow, and I'm not going to go full on crazy with it. But I would like to know your story. if you have one. And I'd like to see if there's something we can do to just bring more awareness to. It's what I'm finding is this. They talk about it on TV all the time, that it's an epidemic, this, and they politicize it and blah, 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 and they ruin it. They take away its power because they politicize everything for gain in the media. But when it hits home, and when you see it, feel it, and begin to look into it, you realize this is really bad, man. It's really bad out there. And it's getting to the point where every single human being, like you just said, you've been touched by it. Your family's been touched by it.
This is a huge problem. In 2021, almost 100,000 people died from preventable overdose.
Wow.
Which is an increase of 781%
Jeez.
from 1991.
Wow. So a decade.
These deaths represent 92% of the total 107,000 drug overdose deaths in the U.S.
Annually.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Right. I would have to say those numbers are probably...
It's a massive problem.
It's a massive problem. Yeah.
And no one, this is the problem with our society. We're segmenting ourselves to the point where if it doesn't affect us directly, we really don't care.
We really don't care.
We can talk about we care and pretend to care, but no one's doing anything about it in reality.
Right. And we're so busy with such hollow pursuits.
Until a president or a senator has a son do this, no one's going to care. This is how it is in this world. If it doesn't impact me directly, sure, we feel bad, but we're not really going to pay attention to it.
Yeah, that's right, man. That's right. And
that's called empathy.
Empathy.
Caring about something that doesn't directly impact you and making it stop.
Right. Yeah, and that's
have a little empathy.
Empathy, putting yourself in the position of that person. Compassion is the action of empathy, right? Empathy is the realization, putting yourself in that position. Compassion is the actual putting shoes to it and getting out there and doing something, showing compassion. So that's where I'm at. Sorry to drop this heaviness on everybody. It is obviously a major issue that's going on in my life and my family's life right now. And I will definitely be talking more about it, but I will be talking more about doing about it once I understand. Yeah. Once I understand it as best I can.
You need help. You need some people to help you with this. So
yeah, that's
I hope
right.
People answer the call that have been through this or are struggling with it.
If you're struggling with it, yeah, you should not try to struggle alone, even though if you get to the point where my son was, you will not come out of it without help. You can't get out of it without help. You will get stuck in there. The government has set up this judicial system that pretends to be helping. My son was involved in what they call drug court, which is a multi-million-dollar government operation in Denver, Colorado, that does nothing to help these people. I'm sorry. They just don't. In my opinion, it is a gigantic government jobs program. It's massive. And my son, I'll just give you a clue. He had been in and out of the Denver and Arapahoe County jail system for a decade and a half, okay? The last time he got arrested, he had already had 3 DUIs. Okay, he was on what's known as a felony diversion program for drug use and possession. He led police on a chase in a stolen car while intoxicated with his which would be his 4th DUI. You would think that a man with that record committing that crime would go to prison, where he probably would have been able to receive some help, going a couple of years or 3 or 4 years, maybe even that would have been probably 5 years, without any kind of drug use whatsoever, probably would have cleared him up. But you know what they did? They let him out. 30 days later, they let him out on drug court diversion. And sure enough, he went from the drug court diversion house, where he was in lockdown for the 30 days, and he was supposed to go to a halfway house in Denver, Colorado, and he never made it. He never made it back there. He didn't make it one day.
Jeez.
14 to 20 days later, about 20 days later, he was gone. He was gone to find. He just couldn't. Now, these are the people that pretend to be in charge of the compassion industry. And I think they're getting it wrong, man. I think they're getting it really, really wrong. And if you want to find a source of the problem, we could probably start there. But that's a Leviathan that will not go easily. And they're not going to give up their grip. Here I go with my soapbox. I'll give up on it. But if you want, and I know there's people out there shaking their heads yes right now. I know if you've been through this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They put themselves in a position of guardian, of helper, and they just suck at it, man. They just really suck at it.
We're in a for-profit country.
It's
right,
everything is for profit.
Your life
everything is
for
politicized.
profit.
Yeah.
Your health is for profit.
Yeah. Wow.
Your ability to think clearly is for profit of somebody. It's crazy.
All right, so how on earth are we going to transition from that back to operative masonry, which is part of the Fellowcraft lecture?
Well, thank you, first of all, for sharing that. I was contacted by people asking me what was going on with you.
Right, I had some
that
people
episode.
too. Yeah,
people wanted your contact info. I didn't want to tell people since I don't know if you want to tell people. But people care.
I mean, they do.
In this fraternity, people really care. There is empathy, at least for each other, which is a good start. At least if we can keep it
right.
Like I always say, Freemasonry's training wheels for life. So if you can have a little empathy for someone in the fraternity, that means you've learned. Hopefully, you can learn to have empathy for people that aren't Masons.
Yeah, that's
someday.
Right. That's right. Yeah,
it's good training wheels.
It's good. I love that. I love that analogy. It really is. It's good training wheels for life, and I appreciate that. So anybody who does want to reach out to me on this issue, just email me or instant message me. I don't know how you were able to figure that out, but I'm getting them. I'll set up the notifications so that I can answer them. But yeah, it's Fred at onthelevelwithfredandchris.com. Just shoot me an email anytime. I'll do my best to answer back, and maybe we can bring some kind of awareness, some kind of consensus, and maybe actually do something about it. Masonry has answers for this hurting society. We have answers. We have something here that young men could use to better their lives, and I'd like to see that in action. So let's move on.
Well, on a more personal note,
all right,
quick.
We're not moving on.
Real quick, last thing. I've gotten to know you well, I would say.
Yes, brother.
I do. We've had ups and downs.
We've had
fights. We've had
makes
good times.
Sense. Yeah, that's right.
We're pretty close.
Yeah.
And everything's led me to understand you better. And I've seen you dealing with this extremely, in a way in which you're extremely strong outside to others. And so I really hope people do contact you, because I think that really can help you. I think it's probably hard. I've witnessed it's difficult to talk to people that don't know what you're going through. And we want to be there for you, but it's not the same as somebody that understands.
No, that's true.
I really believe that's true. So I think if someone that's been through something very similar to you could talk to you, it would be helpful to you. So I hope people do reach out to Fred. I know him. I think it'd be good for him. You'd be doing a huge service to us.
Absolutely.
So, and that could lead to a good outcome for everybody, because we are idea guys. And
we are idea guys. Yeah, that's right.
Even if it's just on a small level, come up with a way to try to make a small difference and maybe save somebody else's life down the road here.
That's right. Or at least prepare those in families who are going through it.
Yeah.
There is a right way and a wrong way to approach this. And we started off doing it the wrong way, and we learned to do it the right way. The outcome was still tragic.
Yeah.
But we can look back as a family and say that we left no stone unturned. We did all we could. We can say that as a family, and I think that's one of the reasons why I feel I'm not breaking down.
Right.
Now, keep in mind, I am responsible for doing the service. I am doing the message of hope at his service on Saturday.
Yeah, the hardest times are still in front of you.
The hardest times are in front of me, and I know when I get back from Denver on Monday night, I got a feeling things will be a little different for me. But I have my brothers all around the world. I have my brothers all around the world who have stood with me. And the thing is that brothers come up to me all the time, who know about this situation, and they put their arm around me and they hug me. And some of them don't say anything. I know what they're doing, and I know what they're saying to me.
It's better than words.
It's better than words, and the reason why that is I know that literally all around the world, there are brothers who have the same attitude towards me. They don't even know me, but they are my Masonic brothers from around the world.
It's crazy, huh?
We have, where are you going to get that? I say it all the time.
Explain it to people. It's impossible to use words to make somebody that's not in the fraternity understand this.
Right.
You have to experience it to truly understand it.
Where, other than a close, like, military unit, I've talked to military guys that say that they forge friendships and they bond there. But other than that, where are you going to find a group of men worldwide who can cry with you, who can laugh with you, who can do life with you, regardless of what their background is, what the color of their skin is, what any factor does not matter. Together, as Masons in this fraternal order, we do life together, man, and it's all over the world. And for that, I think that's an answer that this country needs. I'm going to pound that on the table for the rest of my life. We have something that the world needs, that young men need, and we need to get together, and we need to be stronger. We need to make Masons. Hey, worshipful masters out there, make new Masons. It's your charter. You're required to make new Masons. Let's do it. Let's do it together.
You want some help? Go to masonapp.co/GLMRP.
You're going to have to repeat that.
masonapp.co/GLMRP. You'll find answers.
And if you need explanations, if you need us to come to you, and we will.
Wow. That went in an interesting direction.
It certainly did. Well, it was an interesting moment.
Thank you for sharing.
I appreciate it. Let's not finish on that, even though we're deep into this. But let's go to operative masonry. Unless there's anything within that first part that you wanted to kind of dig into.
That's a pretty plainly explaining what the fellowcraft degree is.
Right.
Why we call it passing.
Right.
What the second degree represents.
Yeah.
But actually, Freemasonry as a whole is classed in there are two denominations,
right.
Operative and speculative.
So let's hear about
some of us
operative.
are both, but not many.
Not many, yeah.
By operative masonry, we allude to the proper application of the useful rules of architecture, whence the structure will derive figure, strength, and beauty, and whence will result a due proportion and a just correspondence in all its parts. It furnishes us with dwellings and convenient shelters from the vicissitudes and inclemencies of seasons, and while it displays the effects of human wisdom, as well in the choice as in the arrangement of the sundry materials of which an edifice is composed, it demonstrates that a fund of science and industry is implanted in man for the best, most salutary, and beneficent purposes. Well, there's some big words in there.
There's some real big words in there. We're going to have to break that down a little bit.
And this is why people learn this lecture first. It just feels good to say these words.
Right? Yeah, right?
When you're standing there and you say it and people think you know what you're talking about. As a lecturer, it's a good feeling. It makes you feel smart. But
right.
For me, I had to Google about half of that paragraph to really understand what the heck that's saying. And it's really simple. Operative masonry was the building of beautiful things.
That's right. Yeah, it was the actual physical work.
All the tools,
done.
all the techniques,
right.
All the materials that go into building something as part of the opera.
These were known as guilds. They were the different building guilds, right? Today you would call it like a general contractor. Right, a general contractor is a gigantic company that builds giant buildings, like a company that the general contractor for a skyscraper, for instance.
Yeah.
Right, and that entity, right, is operative. They actually do the work.
Yeah.
Right.
They use the tools, the materials.
Right, and some of them do it good, and most of them do it very poorly.
But what I like the most about this paragraph, these days mostly poorly, let's be honest.
Let's be totally honest.
It demonstrates that a fund of science and industry is implanted in man. Right there. This didn't come from us. Right. It was implanted in man, this fund of science and industry.
Yeah, and that is so true because in Mason, we refer to God as the grand architect
right.
of the universe. And if you look at the universe, if you look at this earth and you look at the world around us, there's architecture there, man. There's engineering there. It's very clear. And like you just alluded to, it's in us.
It's implanted in us.
It has been implanted in us. And everybody knows this. You take I remember my kids when they were little giving them erector sets and Legos and these things and watching them build stuff.
Yeah.
They're building stuff. They didn't need to be taught this.
No.
My one son, Troy, he's just like, you give him the most complicated toys that for building stuff, and you come back and he's built the Taj Mahal, for goodness sakes. You know? Look what I did. I'm like, wow.
Whoa.
Right. It's in us. It's absolutely in us.
Yeah. And it's implanted in us for the best, most salutary and beneficent purposes, meaning we're supposed to use this drive that we have given to us by our Creator for the good of mankind.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
There you go. This is how Freemasonry views operative masonry. Now, the interesting part, the part most of us live in, is the speculative masonry of today.
That's and just so for those who don't understand, operative being those guilds, those people that originally actually built. Speculative is us, free and accepted Masons, who take the concepts and ideas of the physical builder and translate them into that system of morality that is illuminated by symbolism, right? And that's the difference between operative and speculative. We are speculative Masons. We don't build physical buildings. None of us are slinging mud.
Not in the lodge.
Not in the lodge.
Not usually.
Not usually. We are speculative. And I just think the brilliance of this fraternity is found in the way. I don't know who did all this. But whichever group did this, if it built up over time.
Even we don't know who did this.
Even we don't know who did this. But it's brilliant in that it speaks to men on the symbolism and the way the symbolism is used and the way you dig into it and take it and put it into your own life. It just speaks to men.
Mm-hmm.
It speaks to us. Like you said, it's in us. And the way the speculative, the working tools, the square, the compass, the level, all of it, the way you can apply these things into your own life, and the way the system of degree work helps to reinforce it in your mind. You can't, sorry, I'll say it again. Where are you going to get that, man? Where are you going to get that? You ain't going to get that anywhere else.
Rare in the world.
That's right.
Well, let's see what the system of Freemasonry in Florida says speculative masonry means.
And I'm going to stop you at some point, so go.
Okay. By speculative masonry, we learn to subdue the passions, act upon the square, keep a tongue of good report, maintain secrecy, and practice charity. It is so far interwoven with religion as to lay us under obligation to pay that rational homage to the deity which at once constitutes our duty and our happiness. It leads the contemplative to view with reverence and admiration the glorious works of creation and inspires him with the most exalted ideas of the perfection of his divine creator.
Gosh, I love that.
Wow. So there's a lot there.
That's just one that's the first paragraph,
Yeah.
right?
So we learn to subdue the passions.
Yep.
In the entered apprentice degree, we learn to subdue the passions.
Right.
In the fellowcraft degree, we learn to act upon the square.
Right.
Keep a tongue of good report. So that means don't do anything that is going to allow people to say something bad about you, is how I take that.
Yeah, keep a tongue of good report. To me, it would be.
Or does that mean don't say bad things
Don't,
about?
right. Don't gossip. Don't
gossip.
Don't be a gossip. Don't run people down, but build people up. Use your tongue for what it was intended for, to build people up.
So I failed at this recently.
You did?
I did.
Are you confessing right now?
I made a Masonic error.
Okay.
I was correct in my actions, but I went too far.
Okay.
And I did not keep a tongue of good report. And,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I got myself in some hot water because I'm a zealous Mason.
He is, folks. If you know him, that is a true statement.
I really believe in the fraternal values and tenets of Freemasonry. And when I see Masons not adhering to them, I want to call it out because to me, they're hurting my reputation as a Mason. It's hard enough to keep a good reputation as a Mason in the world, but to have Masons out there acting unmasonic does not help any of us.
So, all right. So let's talk about that for a minute.
I won't say the name.
We won't say the name.
Because that's how I got myself into trouble.
Yeah, no, we're not going to say names. We're going to use our tongue.
I did not.
Wisdom and a good report.
Yeah. I think I was correct in calling out the action, but I should not have called out the name. That was the part that wasn't correct on my part.
Well, we won't do that now. But one of the things we've said on the show before, and one of the standards that we have for On the Level with Fred and Chris, the podcast, is that we do not charge. No Mason should have to pay for the learning and the teachings and the education that they're supposed to get naturally through their lodge.
Right.
We pay annual dues to our lodge, and our lodge gives us education through our degree work. If there's anybody out there that's trying to charge money to do this on the side, I don't care how many books they write, I don't care how many seminars they do, it is not Masonic. I'm sorry. Yeah. It's just not. And I think Florida Grand Lodges backs us up on this. I think they also would agree with us. And if I'm getting myself in trouble here,
no, I don't
I'm sure I'll hear about it.
You're allowed to have an opinion.
and I have a strong opinion about that because Masonry, we're on the ascendancy, in my opinion. Masonry is growing again. And stuff like this, it can only slow that down. If you're a Mason and you're paying somebody to teach you the truths about Masonry, I would encourage you to stop immediately, because you're not acting within the structure of your lodge. And then they're going to say, well, Fred, but my lodge doesn't offer mentoring, and they're not doing a real good job of this. Okay, then we said it before, brother. You're the solution. You see it,
mentoring.
You want it, you desire it, and you see it. That makes you the change, man. You got to go out there and do it. What you don't want to do is lay down a chunk of money to have somebody teach you it for pay.
Right. What should be given freely.
What should be given freely within your lodge, because your lodge won't grow until you get in there and actually begin to make the change. We were talking to Brother Bob down in Inglewood.
Bob Gatens.
Bob Gatens, the amazing bicyclist. The man rode a bicycle from Venice, California to Venice, Florida, and raised something like $8,000.
Raised a bunch of money.
For our charities.
And accomplished a lifelong, challenge to himself.
I got to tell you, man, I just love that guy. I just do, man. I just feel like
a leader.
Bob is a leader.
Bob is already a leader, but as he ascends through the Masonic ranks,
absolutely. Shout out to you, Bob.
You'll see this guy's going to be important.
Yeah. He's just got that focus,
and we like him because he's about Masonry. He's not about Bob.
That's right. That's right. And also Worshipful Fredon, who started a catechism class, teaching people, wanting to create a class to bring guys in from all over the district and sit down and teach how to do catechism, which can only lend itself to how to do mentoring. We at our lodge, shout out to Brother Wade and Brother Cliff, who are working towards creating modules within the mentoring program. This is all part of paying your annual dues and being plugged into your local lodge. This is not an opportunity to create a side business. It isn't. And it should never be, and it should never be sanctioned by any official free and accepted Masonic order at all.
And people will say, "Yeah, but you're doing this and you're making money, right?"
Yeah,
that's what they're going to say to us.
We're making money? Wait, really?
In theory, it could make money, I guess. But the difference for us is we're not charging any Masons for anything that we say.
No,
if we made any money, it would be from advertisers that want to be able to talk about themselves.
And we have been approached by several advertisers who would like to get on the show, which we feel is an honor.
You'll hear ads in our show occasionally.
Absolutely.
That is how we're trying to cover the expenses of doing this thing, but we're not charging Masons directly for stuff that they should get for free.
Right. Yeah.
That's a line that we're not going to cross.
No, we will not cross that. And I just think that there should be some kind of sanction eventually or some kind of official statement saying, hey, here's where you go to get educated in
How
Masonry.
about the Grand Lodge website? where the mentor's manual resides, and you can read it for yourself.
You can read it for yourself. We read it here on the show. And in your lodge, if you don't have a mentorship program that's good, well then, brother, you're the solution. If you're seeing that, there's a reason why you're seeing that deficiency, is because you're supposed to step up and make that change. And I hope we all would. And it is our goal on this show to make the need for an outside education product that you can buy online not necessary and obsolete. That is our goal. We don't want to see that anywhere. We're not mad at anybody. Don't get us wrong. No. We ain't mad at anybody. We are not trying to harm anybody.
Definitely not.
But in our opinion, in this show, this podcast opinion, that's off limits, and that should not be.
So that was first strike in my book.
Okay.
This is one thing that I was already in my mind, and then the same individual doing the first strike we just talked about,
right,
that is a public figure in Masonry who purports to be a knowledgeable person about the fraternity, who is literally giving answers to questions about Freemasonry as if they're truths when sometimes they're opinion. Don't begrudge anybody that. However, the second strike for me is this public person who's a representative of Freemasonry to the outside world is now publicly saying political things, which I don't have a problem with, but in such a way as to be derogatory and negative to people that he doesn't agree with.
Yeah, and that's just bad form. Bro.
That's not Masonic.
That's not Masonic. It's bad form.
You're free to have an opinion, and you're free to express your opinion. But as Masons, we keep a tongue of good report.
That's right. You keep right.
We just read. Be negative. We don't call names. We don't try to disenfranchise people.
For me, when I'm out in the marketplace of ideas, I'm more talking about what I do believe, not what you don't believe. Or I'm not talking negatively about what someone else believes. I'm not trying to highlight someone else's belief structure in a negative way ever. I'm simply trying to explain myself. And what I believe, and if there are differences, if you keep it to that level, and I have found this to be true, and I think a lot of people have seen it in my life, if you keep it to that level, people will come to you with their belief structures, and you can have great conversations.
Sure.
But to just get out there and throw all these daggers and axes,
that's
on
what
a political
is.
level,
the daggers and axes.
I don't know what it is, the left versus right thing, or the
I guess that's the
down
simplest
thing.
way to quantify it is you're this
like,
side or that side, and if you're on that side, you're bad.
Yeah, and you have just you have just cut yourself off from 50% of the people in this country. Who does that? Who is serious about education? Who is serious about life and community and doing better in this world, and cuts 50% of the people around you off from any intellectual conversation? To me, that is not wise, and it's certainly not Masonic.
No. And this individual's not alone.
No. We're not picking on one
individual. And this isn't even a one side or other side problem. Personally, there are people that I have had to block and unfriend on Facebook that are on both sides. Because either way, if you're going and saying really negative, throwing those daggers, it's not right. It doesn't matter if you're talking about politics, birthday cakes.
You took yourself right out of the game. You're off the field. As soon as you start doing that, you are off the field.
We're supposed to have real discourse about things, and you should share your opinions and ideas. 100%.
Absolutely, but you should do it in a Masonic way.
Right. You have a conversation. Don't be hateful to anybody. Publicly.
Right. And that's we're in the fellowship. We're in the Fellowcraft lecture, which in that lecture talks about the 7 liberal arts and sciences. One of those arts and sciences is rhetoric. And rhetoric is the ability to share your ideas in such a way as to bring another person into it. And educate them. Whether they agree with it or not is not your job.
Through persuasive argument.
Through persuasive argument.
Sure.
Through fact-based persuasive argument. And we're Masons, so we're supposed to do it with love in our hearts, with gentleness and respect, to help somebody else see more light. So, and again, if you're just bloviating that the party line, you're not even on the field, man. You're not even on the field.
It's not really helping anybody.
You're not helping anybody. No. Well, you might be helping yourself, and you might draw to yourself some people that are like-minded. And that's a
true.
crowd. That's a crowd of people that I call a mob. That's what that is. You're cultivating a mob. You're cultivating a cult. You're bringing together people under false pretenses to foist an idea, not your idea, for positive change, but what's wrong with somebody else's idea for negative opinion. And it just doesn't work. I've been there, man. I've been there. Okay, I was the right side guy of right side guys, man. 20 years ago, I worked for I've worked for political campaigns. I've done it. I've knocked on doors. I've done the email. I've done it all. And I can tell you right now, it for me it was a losing operation. It absolutely made me miserable. It separated me from people who could have been friends of mine, and it got us nowhere. Listen, you want to talk politics? Here, try this one on for size. For my entire voting lifetime, okay, think about the presidents that we've had. We had George Bush, then we had Bill Clinton for 2 terms.
We're skipping Reagan.
Yeah, well, I voted for Reagan his last term as a kid, starting off with that good high school Republican bullcrap, whatever it was. But anyways, I voted for him because I was told to. But so we'll skip Reagan. But Reagan's man, the director of the CIA and one of the wealthiest family dynasties on the planet, George Bush went 1 term. Then we had Bill Clinton for 2 terms. Then we had his son, George Bush Jr., for 2 terms. Then we had Barack Obama for 2 terms. Then we had Donald Trump, and now we have Joe Biden. Let me ask you a question, brother. If you're looking back on all of that, how you doing? How's that going? It's not going great.
It's like a crazy pendulum going.
It's this radical left, severe left to severe right, radical pendulum. But all the while, those people keep getting more powerful and more wealthy.
Yeah.
And we become more and more separated, and we become more and more poorer, with less influence and with less love and community. So as far as I'm concerned, I think we need a better way. And I think it starts with not throwing daggers, not throwing axes at people you disagree with, but putting your arms around them, shaking their hand and saying, okay, we disagree on this, but what do we agree with? How can we better agree and work? Sounds familiar, don't it? How can we get together?
Or how about try to make a logical argument for your point instead of making an illogical accusation at the other guy? Well, you don't make any point on your own.
Yeah.
That's not useful.
It's not useful, and frankly, I have no time for it. And if you do it around me, you're gonna get a full-blown argument. And if you want one, come on.
It happened.
I'm good at it.
I did it publicly, and went up to my district deputy, who I had to apologize, and I regret that I did say that brother's name. That was dumb, and this is a learning process.
No, it is.
I'm generally a good person.
You are a good person, and you are a great Mason.
But this is the thing: I'm zealous about Masonry.
That's right.
And you're hurting something I love, and so I overreacted. I need to attack the idea, not the person.
No, that's right.
That's the lesson I learned from that. So I just wanted to say I am not perfect, and I apologize publicly to anybody that might have seen anything I did that was inappropriate. I am not claiming to be perfect.
No, we're not perfect. But we are dedicated.
Yeah, it's always with good motivations.
And the motivation is that this is a fraternity that we love. You guys know how passionate we are about it. We want to see it succeed. And when you attack the fraternity, or you bring disrepute, in our opinion, to the fraternity, we're going to have some strong opinions, and sometimes our reactions, we need to work on those, and we have.
It's me.
Well, you know what? It's this show. This show is on the level with Fred and Chris. So whatever Chris says, Fred says, and whatever Fred says, Chris says.
I smelled the smoke with this situation pretty quickly.
Yeah, right.
We didn't want to think what we thought, and then just repeated confirmation. It's hard not to see it.
Right, yeah. All right, let's keep going.
Okay. We work in speculative masonry. But our ancient brethren wrought in both operative and speculative. Wow, they're calling you an ancient brother.
I'm ancient.
They worked at the building of King Solomon's temple and many other sacred and Masonic edifices. They wrought for 6 days and rested on the seventh. This section also refers to the origin of the Jewish Sabbath, as well as the manner in which it was kept by our ancient brethren.
Wow.
In 6 days, God created the heaven and the earth and rested upon the seventh. The seventh day, therefore, our ancient brethren consecrated as a day of rest from their labor, thereby enjoying frequent opportunities to contemplate the glorious works of creation and to adore the great Creator.
And we're going to stop there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
That's interesting. So this is a reference to the fact that the great architect of the universe built it in 6 days.
Right.
This is in most Holy Scriptures, right? All of the major ones.
Well, the idea of the 6 days of creation is, yes, it's universal in the major religions.
Yeah.
For sure. I am not, I've said this before on the show, I am not a 6-day creationist.
Well, listen, everything can be symbolic in nature.
Yeah, no, I do believe that God created the heavens and the earth. Make no mistake about that. I do believe a mind, a superior, vastly powerful mind, is responsible for all of this design and engineering that's all around us and in us. There's no doubt about that in my mind. The book of Genesis, from my perspective, gives a 6-day and seventh day of rest allegory. That is, first thing, it's if you look at it in the way Moses wrote it, it's easy to memorize. It's really easy to memorize, and that's what
nice.
they did. That's what they did back then. They memorized things,
Right.
And it also it was never given. And you can see it in the writings. Even if you study Hebrew and you understand the way the Hebrew language works and how it all works, it was not given to figure out dates and times.
Right.
That's not what it was for. So when you try to apply that, when zealous brothers try to apply that to the scriptures and say 6 days only, 6-day creation only, otherwise you can't be this or can't be that, they make a huge mistake, in my opinion. The evidence just isn't there. I've said it before. There's SN 1985, which is a supernova that we've been tracking for many, many years. The light signatures that are seen in the sky that reach this planet are 275,000 years old. That's a mathematical fact.
That's not that old.
That's not that old, but it's more than 6 days.
Well, yeah. The Webb telescope is able to look so far into space. They're trying to find the first light.
Right.
The first light from the Big Bang or whatever you want to call the creation of this universe we live in. Big Bang doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
It doesn't make sense because it's a point in time. Let's talk about prior to.
What was before that?
Right.
Come on. But like anything, we're limited by our ability to understand at this time. And so this is the concept we've created.
Right.
And so but it is a fact that we now have a telescope far enough away from the light of our own sun that we can see a little bit deeper into space than we ever have. And we're seeing light that is many millions of years old now, coming from deep reaches of space.
Right. And those are mathematical equations that are being done. Mathematical equations like when we sent Gemini into space.
Sure.
And we said that in 12 years it's going to pass by Jupiter on this day at this time. Guess what happened? It passed by Jupiter on that day and on that time. Why? Because advanced mathematics.
Yeah.
Right, advanced mathematics and astronomy.
Geometry and astronomy and algebra.
Those are empirical facts that have to be dealt with. So when you take it out of its context, when you take the first 2 books of the book of Genesis out of its context for the reason it was given, then you come up with all this wacky, crazy stuff, and you lose your credibility. And that's what's happened, and you lose your credibility. That's why, that's why Christians are looked at as simpletons with this childlike faith that can't enter the scientific debate. Well, you know what? A lot of these guys can't because they've misappropriated the truth of it, And anyways, I'm going.
We were just talking about that prior to recording here.
Oh, we were. What was that conversation?
It was exactly this. We were talking about the fact that we really don't know anything for sure. And we just keep learning more and more, and it's really challenging our understanding of reality. And I think religious institutions fear that because they fear that they're going to lose control.
They'll lose the paradigm. They'll lose that group, right?
But the people that prescribe to those particular faiths should not fear this because it's just revealing further proof of what they believe.
Yeah, that's right.
And and honestly, it is. Science is only helping us better understand our own creation. And the more we look into it, the deeper we see, and now at the quantum level, there's more order than we ever imagined.
Right.
More symmetry than we could have ever imagined in reality. And, how can you not see a creator in that?
There's a mind.
The more you see, the more you should believe.
Absolutely. The book of creation, that book that you see every day. Go to the mountains, watch. I've said it before. The most amazing thing I've ever seen is seeing a horse being a live birth of a horse that gets up and feeds, from its mother immediately, and the gestation period and all of that stuff. It is not by accident. None of it can be by accident. All of it is designed. There's a pre-program to every bit of it. I mean, it's like Sir Isaac Newton said, a Calvinist, by the way. Like Sir Isaac Newton said, he said, it's as if I'm thinking God's thoughts after him. And that's what he said. He's the father of the calculus. I mean, and when he was developing a system for understanding gravity and the gravitational pull and the equation of figuring out terminal velocity, he said he can figure out how it does what it does, and he can track it, and he can create a mathematical equation for it, but he still doesn't know why it's there.
Yeah.
How it continues. How does gravity continue to work? Some people want to say it's magnetic, it's this, it's that. But every fancy scientist ever who has contemplated this thing still must admit at the end of the day, we don't know what it is. We don't know what it is.
Things that people take for granted in our everyday life that we use all the time, like I just had surgery, not just, but I had surgery for the first time. And I was about to go out. The anesthesiologist was there, and he had the vial in his pocket. And I was like, oh, boy, that's the good stuff, huh? And he's like, yep. And I said, hey, can you explain how this works to me? And he's like, no, actually, I can't. We really don't know. I'm like, what? You're the expert. You're about to do this. And he said, yeah, we observe, we record, we know what it does, and we know how to manipulate it, but we don't fully understand how this works.
Right.
But we all trust it. We all trust it with our lives constantly. So just because we don't understand a thing doesn't, like, there's a saying in business that success leaves tracks. And so you want to see the patterns and then follow in the footsteps of the success. And this is what science is. Success in life leaves tracks. And so we're trying to follow the footprints of creation to try to understand. And we observe, and this is what science is. We observe, we record, we experiment, we try to replicate things so that we understand it. And even if we do understand the effect of something, it doesn't mean we fully understand the cause.
The cause, and that's what it comes down to, is causality. What caused all of this? And for us, it is in the beginning would be one explanation, because prior to we know there was a beginning, right? So Edwin Hubble postulated it, and then Boyle and the other scientists.
I don't know if we know anything. That's the thing. I don't know anything for sure. We don't know there was a beginning.
Well, we do because of the red light shift.
We can assume that it's based on our understanding of things.
You're right. You're totally right. And that's why I always say, what is the most plausible explanation for why we are here? What is the most plausible explanation?
But even here, what we're talking about, where it says God created the heaven and the earth, that doesn't mean there was nothing before that.
There was God.
There was something.
There, a mind, a very powerful, vast
intelligence
mind. That's right. There is, and that's the theory that I hold to is known as intelligent design for that reason. That it is not in an age of scientific enlightenment. Natural selection through random variation just simply isn't plausible anymore. I found these guys, Dr. Stephen Myers, who started an organization 20 years ago called the Intelligent Design Institute, and he's just a brilliant man. And some of them are Christians, some of them are not, but they're all scientists. And it is something we were taught in high school or in school that nothing created everything for no apparent reason. And for me, that never sat well.
Right.
Nothing
Honestly, it didn't
can't
with me
do
either.
anything.
It does still this day doesn't make sense to me.
It makes no sense. Nothing can do nothing. That's all nothing can do. If nothing can do something, then nothing is something. It's just not possible. We know that the universe had a beginning. The most plausible explanation, according to Albert Einstein, Hubble, and Boyle, these brilliant men of science down through the ages, that it did have a beginning, that it's all moving away from each other, that it's all continuing to move. And therefore, it must have had a beginning. Prior to that beginning, what was there? Something was there. That's a great conversation. It just stimulates the mind so well. I don't care what persuasion you're from, what religious background you're from. It is a great. I have had that conversation 100 times with men and women, and it has done is sharpened my mind and caused me to think deeper and deeper about why we are here and our origins. You know, it can only help if it's done with gentleness and respect.
And the book that you currently prescribe all your belief to is full of moral lessons.
Absolutely.
If you just are willing to get past the idea that you're memorizing facts and start learning the lessons of the stories,
right,
you'll probably have more fun and be a better representative of your faith.
Well, and that's right. That's right. Because at the end of the day, we all enter the marketplace of ideas, and all of us should be willing and able to give our 15 minutes in the marketplace of ideas. Here's what I believe. Here's why I believe it. And somebody else says, well, here's what I believe, and here's why I believe it. And together, we can all go down this path together, talking and reasoning and coming to some conclusions. It's my hope and prayer that every man will come to a definite conclusion. Will come to what is the most plausible explanation based on your search.
I know you want me to, but I still can't do it.
What is the most plausible?
No.
No, that's okay. That's all right.
But I'm open. I keep listening. And I'm still searching for more things that I can say. This makes sense. This makes sense.
I love that. That's absolutely cool. That's absolutely awesome. Okay. We are an hour and a half in, and we have done half a paragraph.
No.
Yes.
Come on, we got a couple pages done.
Gosh, we got a couple pages. I think we should probably end it here.
Sorry.
That's okay. I think it was a really great episode. We did get a few things in operative, speculative Masons.
Yeah.
We started in the beginning talking about, the first part of the lecture. I would say that anybody who's a Mason, go back to the Blue Book. If you're a Florida Mason, the Florida Masonic Monitor, and read that first paragraph and kind of contemplate it and think about it. It really does give a great explanation of our craft and the symbolism that we use and why we do what we do. And in my opinion, I am real big on this right now. I keep thinking that this is what people need to hear from Masonry. I'm going to get in trouble for this. We've been too secret. That which we can tell the world, we should. Let me say it that way. Those things that we can share, we should start sharing so that people will have an understanding of what we do. Because there's a lot of people out there who are under the wrong impression about what we do.
I agree with that. We have secrets. If you're not a Mason,
and we love them,
and you are afraid of the fact that Masonry has secrets, and I had this conversation with my wife's father, I would ask you, do you have secrets?
Do you have secrets?
Do you have secrets you're keeping from anyone in your life?
I'm thinking you might.
You do. Of course you do. Does that make you horrible, satanic, bad? Maybe, but probably not.
Probably not.
I mean, if you killed somebody and that's your secret, you probably, keep that one. That's bad.
Yeah, definitely keep that to yourself. We don't want to hear that.
Most of you don't, but you do have secrets. You do. And it doesn't make you bad. Our secrets don't make us bad.
And the only thing we can say is our secrets make us better because it's part of who we are as a fraternity. And one of the things we talked about in the lecture today was secrecy.
Maintain secrecy.
Maintain secrecy, which is huge. We probably need more men in this world who can keep a secret. who can keep their mouth shut.
It's tough because you really know when you tell someone something you don't want everyone to know. I think there's always a part of you that's like, man, how many people is that person going to tell?
Yeah, right.
I might have just embarrassed myself, you know?
Right. We were having a conversation with somebody the other day, and he said to us, look, this is on our obligation. And we all three of us knew exactly what that meant. No other soul may know what we are saying. No other soul. Other than the three people in that car, no other soul may know what was said. That's what that means. And that's an important part of who we are.
Yeah. It doesn't mean it's bad because someone wants to tell you something that's not meant for everyone to hear. It just means it's sensitive, especially to that person.
Yeah, that's right.
And so out of respect and love, we keep it private for that person.
That's right.
But it's an honor to be told something like that because you now have a deeper relationship with that person and you can talk about that thing with them.
That's right. And it fosters that brotherhood. You know, I'm brothers with men all around the world who know the same secrets I do. And I can confide in them. You don't confide in every person you meet in the world. You know, you have to have a person has to earn the right, you know, to be in your life in that way. But we are bound together by an obligation and by this fraternity that holds these secrets sacred amongst us. And
but here's another thing.
Extremely grateful.
That what you just said brings up in the counter culture. They say, oh, Masons support each other even through rape and murder. They'll support each other like a judge will support a Mason who's at trial for murder. Okay, it's not true.
That is so not true.
We are bound to obey the laws of the government that we live in.
That's
as
right.
Masons.
Absolutely. And a higher standard. In my opinion, Masonry holds itself to a higher standard.
You're not a Mason if you've done that bad thing. In fact, we'll expel you from the order if you've done that.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
It's a misconception about Masonry that we stick together no matter what, that we cover each other's tracks, that we conspire together to break the law. 100% not true.
Yeah, no, that's I would not be a part of an organization like that. It would be counter.
Do we help each other?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Do you come to the need of somebody that needs you? Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's what we mean.
But the truth is that if there's somebody in our lodge who has committed grand larceny to the tune of a couple $1 million against their employer,
you'll be expelled from Masonry.
And the reason why is because we love you. You need to be exposed for what you did.
Right.
You need to face the justice for what you have done, and we will expel you, and we will turn you over to the authorities. Why? Yeah. Because we do love you, and we don't want you to live under that. We want restitution to be made to those who have been harmed. We want the fraternal order to maintain its respectability in this world, and that is done out of love. Yeah. We do not co-sign anyone's bad behavior.
No.
It's just not done in our order. It'll get you kicked out of our order.
Does it happen? I would bet it does.
I would bet it does, only because
we're
there's
full of men.
Humans. Humans are involved.
Is the government supposed to do the things it's doing? No. Is it doing them? Yes.
Yes.
Does it happen in Masonry? Involved. I would bet it does.
Absolutely.
But it's not Masonic.
It is
and if the right person catches you, they'll call you out. So hopefully we can generate more good people that won't tolerate things and will hold each other accountable so we can be proud of the fraternity that we're part of.
Right on. All right, man. Well, this was a great episode. We didn't get far, but next time we'll focus more. Oh, I say that all the time. Next time we'll try to focus more on the work. I know that's what you guys want from us, and we are glad and honored to provide it.
Yeah.
You got anything for us before we go out, Chris?
No, I appreciate you sharing what you did. And I want to remind people to contact you at Fred at onthelevelwithfredandchris.com.
I would appreciate that. It would be a great joy to be able to sit down and answer emails and messages for sure.
And we'll be thinking about you this weekend.
Yeah, thanks, man. All right, guys. Like I've been trying to have a parting saying for the show that I've been working on, and it goes like this. Now that you've heard what you've heard, go back to your lodge and build
it strong.